Could two big-name free agents change the Bengals' season before it's too late? The Cincinnati Bengals are being linked to free agent safety C.J. Gardner-Johnson after his surprise release by the Houston Texans. On paper, Gardner-Johnson brings real talent. He was a key playmaker during his best seasons with the Philadelphia Eagles, showing range in coverage and the ability to create turnovers. That kind of experience can be tempting for a team that wants depth in the secondary. But the reasons for his release raise big red flags. Reports from ESPN say Gardner-Johnson struggled with blown assignments this year, and when mistakes happened, he reportedly blamed his teammates instead of owning the errors. He even criticized teammates about their contracts and complained about his role in the Texans' defense, wanting to blitz more than coaches allowed. He eventually requested a trade before being cut outright. Those behaviors have led many around the league to label him a bit of a diva. And that's a concern for a Bengals locker room built on accountability. Meanwhile, Cincinnati's current safeties are performing well, which lowers the urgency to make a move. Jordan Battle is off to a strong start, already racking up nearly half of last year's tackle total only 3 games into the season. Geno Stone has barely been targeted, a sign that quarterbacks respect his positioning and that he's consistently in the right place at the right time. Given those facts, signing Gardner-Johnson might create more problems than it solves. The Bengals would have to decide who to bench or release, possibly disrupting special teams contributors like P.J. Jules or Tyson Anderson. With Battle and Stone holding down the back end effectively, the team may feel that adding a high-maintenance veteran isn't worth the risk, even if his talent is undeniable. The Cincinnati Bengals defense has quietly turned into one of the early season bright spots. Yes, Week 1 against the Browns was rough. That game looked like a throwaway. But since then, Lou Anarumo's unit has tightened the screws and shown why it can keep this team in playoff contention. One of the biggest surprises has been Jordan Battle. The second-year safety is flying all over the field. Through just 3 games, he's already piled up nearly half of last season's tackle total, about 23 stops so far compared to 58 a year ago. That's not a fluke. It's proof that his instincts and closing speed have taken a big leap. Across from him, Geno Stone has been almost invisible in the best possible way. Quarterbacks simply aren't throwing his direction. When a safety's name barely shows up in the box score, it usually means he's locking down his assignments and erasing big plays before they start. Stone's positioning and awareness are forcing offenses to look elsewhere. Outside of that rough opener, this defense has been disciplined, assignment sound, and physical. They're keeping games winnable even when the Bengals' offense sputters. If this group keeps trending upward, they might become the reason Cincinnati stays alive in the AFC race. With the Bengals' secondary a little banged up, the front office might have to explore the free agent market for help at cornerback. Cam Taylor-Britt is dealing with a nagging hamstring injury, a tricky issue because coming back too early can lead to re-injury. He missed last week's game, and while he flashed strong play against Jacksonville earlier in the season, his availability is now a question mark. Across the field, DJ Turner has been up and down. He's shown flashes, but the consistency isn't there yet. Add it all up, and the Bengals' depth at corner suddenly looks thinner than they'd like. Enter veteran Stephon Gilmore. The former Defensive Player of the Year remains unsigned and could provide immediate experience and leadership. Even at 33, Gilmore was solid last season in Minnesota, and bringing him in for a workout would at least reveal whether he still has enough left in the tank to help Cincinnati's playoff push. But adding any veteran isn't as simple as making a phone call. The Bengals would have to clear a roster spot, and that's where things get complicated. The team is already carrying 5 tight ends, so a cut at another position, or a tough decision in that crowded tight end room, would be required. For now, it's just an option on the table, but it's one worth watching. If injuries linger or performance dips further, Cincinnati could decide that a proven pro like Stephon Gilmore is worth the roster shuffle. Health and depth are 2 of the biggest storylines around the Bengals defense right now, especially in the secondary. Let's start with Cam Taylor-Britt. The talented young corner is dealing with a hamstring injury, and that type of injury can be tricky. Hamstrings are notorious for re-aggravation if a player comes back too soon. Even if Taylor-Britt feels good after a few days, the coaching and medical staff know they have to be careful. Pushing him back onto the field before he's fully healed could lead to a much longer absence, something the Bengals can't afford as the schedule toughens. While Taylor-Britt recovers, the Bengals are leaning on their depth, and that depth is being tested. Josh Newton, a rookie corner, has been pressed into a bigger role than expected. He's seeing more defensive snaps and valuable experience, which should help his development but also puts pressure on him to play mistake-free football against NFL starting receivers. Alongside Newton, versatile defensive back Dax Hill has been critical. Hill has shifted between safety and slot responsibilities, showing why the Bengals invested a first-round pick in him. His ability to cover multiple positions gives defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo flexibility to adjust coverages and keep the secondary steady even with starters missing time. This combination, nursing Taylor-Britt's hamstring carefully while relying on Newton's growth and Hill's versatility, shows how much the Bengals value depth. It's not just about having backups, it's about having players who can step in without a significant drop in performance. If Cincinnati manages Taylor-Britt's recovery wisely, and these young defenders continue to hold up, the secondary can stay competitive until everyone is healthy. While the Bengals' defense has kept them competitive, the offense has been a different story. Even with Joe Burrow on the field, production has lagged, and the biggest disappointment is the run game. Cincinnati simply isn't generating consistent yards on the ground, making the entire attack one-dimensional. When defenses don't have to respect the run, they can blitz more freely and sit on passing routes, which puts extra pressure on Burrow and the receivers. The offensive line remains at the center of the conversation. Fans will remember last season's mid-year debate about whether signing Dalton Risner would solidify the interior. When Lucas Patrick was healthy, the Bengals managed a steadier run push. But after Patrick went down and Risner stepped in, the ground game never really clicked. That history now feels familiar as the current unit struggles to open holes or control the line of scrimmage. These blocking issues ripple through the entire offense. Without a credible rushing threat, play-action loses its bite, third-and-short situations become harder to convert, and Burrow is left absorbing more hits than any franchise quarterback should. Until the line regains cohesion and the backs find daylight, Cincinnati's offensive ceiling stays capped, no matter how many elite weapons line up outside. The bottom line, talent isn't the problem, execution is. The Bengals must rediscover balance, starting with better run blocking and sharper communication up front, if they want to complement their surging defense and stay in the AFC playoff race. To wrap things up, the Bengals Breakdown host turns the spotlight directly on the fans, making them part of the show's decision-making conversation. First, he invites viewers to weigh in on the hottest free agent topic of the week, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. After laying out the pros and cons of signing the talented but sometimes high-maintenance safety, he challenges fans to cast their vote right in the comments. Type S to sign or P to pass, he says, letting the audience decide whether the Bengals should bring Gardner-Johnson into the locker room or steer clear. Next comes the question of a veteran cornerback, Stephon Gilmore. With injuries in the secondary and Gilmore still available on the open market, the host again calls on fans for input. Type Y for yes or N for no if you'd sign Gilmore, he urges, creating an easy, interactive poll that keeps the conversation moving long after the video ends. But the interaction doesn't stop there. To help the Bengals channel beat its rival Ravens channel in the ongoing like battle, he delivers a direct call to action. Hit that like button if you want Cincinnati to come out on top, he says, reminding viewers that more likes mean more visibility and, ultimately, more Bengals content. Finally, he closes with the most important step for long-term community building, subscribing. Don't miss a single game day live stream or breaking news update. Hit that subscribe button and join our Bengals family, he tells them, making it clear that every fan is part of a growing community dedicated to Cincinnati football. This combination of comment prompts, like challenges, and subscription reminders transforms a simple news update into a two-way conversation and keeps fans coming back for every new episode.